you can see it's right over there, guys. As you start to turn that to get to see all the rings, you have to remove a whole lot of material at the top and at the bottom, and that gives you the convex shape. What I found was adding that ring made it a whole lot easier and gives you a lot more wood to play with. The first few I made, I ended up with a very small amount of wood at the bottom to glue the base on. And I was concerned that, geez, maybe there isn't enough meat there to hold it. They worked, but it's a whole lot easier when you add a 8-segment ring to the top and an 8-segment ring to the bottom made out of 3/4 maple. 3/4 by 1 by 2, or 1 by 2. All right. What you don't see in the sample that Greg has, and that's going around, and what you didn't see in the piece that I had made and brought in a couple of months ago, you can turn the inside in a concave way and get the same effect on the inside that you have on the outside. This is kind of abstract. I had hoped that I could turn that bowl today to show you that, but I just didn't have the time. So if you turn the inside, you mount this on your lathe and just bring your tool in and turn away most of the inside. You will eventually, after you've removed about 3/4 of an inch of stock, you will eventually start to expose that piece of contrasting wood. And once you see it, when you do this, you have to start the lathe, turn for a few minutes and stop, because sometimes you just can't see in there. Oh, not ready yet. Turn it a little bit more. Eventually, you'll start to see it, and then you pull the tool towards you and remove some of the other wood, and eventually you'll see that usually it appears as a circle because you're seeing a fairly large portion of the inside of that piece right there. What I'll try and do on the instructions that I make, I will try and do some illustrations, some photographs. Of course, before this goes on the lathe, we have to do the rest of the chopping and also add a ring to the top, a ring to the bottom, and a base. So that's how this is done. And as I had said, the first few that I did with 1 inch oak. So you don't have to have inch and a half maple. I had some laying around and I figured, what the hell, I might as well use it. And I think that piece has the potential to come out pretty well. It's not done yet, but it will be at some point. So that's now one of the things that I found. I had thought initially, okay, suppose I use on 1, 3, 5, and 7, say walnut and mahogany on 2, 4, 6, and 8. That would make it a little more colorful, and that will work just fine. I also thought about changing the height of the rings, and I thought I could have a full ring here, and then on the insert that I'm going to put in here, instead of having it Andropa from top to bottom, suppose I glued up a strip of Andropa, say 2 inches, and a 1/2 inch of maple, and a 1/2 inch of maple over here. Cleaned it all up, sanded it down. When I put that in and turn it, you're going to have a different shape ring because you don't have contrasting wood all the way at the top and all the way at the bottom. So instead of having a round ring, you're going to have more of a oval or elliptical ring. So one of the things that I like to do as I'm doing something, I say, okay, is this the only way I can do this? Is there another way I can do this? Can I use different materials? How can I approach this differently? And sometimes I don't come up with any answers. But once in a while, you do. And it's gratifying when you you can visualize it, and then you make it. And it's, I find that very rewarding. So that's a bowl with interlocking rings. Now, some time ago, I had spoken with several of the guys about cutting a wavy line in a bowl. And I showed a few guys how to do that one time we were here in the shop doing something, and I had my jig in the piece. And so what I'd like to do is go over to the bandsaw and show you how I cut that wavy line in the side. Here is a bowl with a wavy line in it. So will you pass that around, please? And that's a maple bowl with a babinga, a thin strip of babinga in it. And I cut that on a bandsaw, my bandsaw, but set up similarly to the one you have here. So what I have is I've got a base clamped down here, and on the base is an L-shaped piece of wood. On the end of the L-shaped wood is a chuck and a lock nut. There's the piece. I drilled a hole to allow this piece, this threaded section, to slip through the hole, and I counterbored it so that chuck would attach to it and fit snugly. So what I'm going to do now is put that back together again. Now the piece in the back that I'm turning, I bought it from Penn State Industries in Pennsylvania. I think it cost about $15. So what I have here on the bandsaw is a board with a series of 3/8 holes drilled all the way down the length. I also have a series of 3/8 holes drilled along the length of this piece. And I have a bolt. What I'm going to do is set this piece onto the board, push that down. I'm going to try and stand out of the way so you can see what's going on here. I'm going to start the saw, and I'm going to run this through the saw at an arc. This piece pivots. It doesn't do anything else but pivot. So, you have to go slowly, and you have to hold it carefully. Can we get that up any higher? There we go. Okay, now it's... I locked it.
Just barely.
Yep. Can you catch that?
Looks like one of Wayne's bowls.
All right.
I do that. Guess what? Firewood.
I gotta put it back together again.
That's a good shot.
Can I get that two-handle, please?
Wayne can't hear that.
Okay. There you go. I'll just put that aside. So here we have the base and the top. And what I should have done before this was marked it so I could line it back up again. Usually, you don't have much trouble lining them up. There we go. Usually, right. Now, what I'll have to do is sand this lightly. What I usually do is put in a piece of 16th veneer. In this case, it would be a light like maple, so it would contrast and show up well. Squeeze it back together again, apply glue liberally, squeeze it back together again, and thank you. All right, there we go. There we go, right there. So, I want to pass this around, except for the place we had to stop and start again. This is pretty good. And that cut came out reasonably nicely. And when you put the veneer in and you clamp it back up and glue it and clamp it and then turn it again, the piece is, I've had so many people say, how did you do that? Because when you see something like this, you think of a jigsaw cutting it. Where did you start and where did you stop? And of course, it's not like that at all.
So Peter,
did
does
you pass that along?
the blade not wander when you're running it through the jig that way? That would be my only concern, is that because your blocks are so high up, you might have that tendency to wobble and get glue on you.
There is a bit of drift.
There is? Okay.
Yeah. But both pieces drift together, so it sort of doesn't matter. A little bit, yeah. There's only been one. I've done probably, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 of these. There's only one